Hi, this is Matthias. I am one of the coaches from Ultimate Poker Coaching, and today I have for you a hand that I will analyze here. We are, let's say, 30 to 50% of the field is left in a tournament, and we're in the small blind. Big blind has 36 big blinds. And yeah, we're going to analyze this and see how we can evaluate how I played my line here. First of all, let's just go through the line and then we analyze this bit by bit. So I decided to limp. This can be limp or raise, but anyways, decide to limp call. We're going to talk about all of this. Check. He bets like what, 40%. I check raise. He calls. Turn is a queen. I check. He bets 8 big blinds. I call. And river's a 10. Another not amazing card. He goes all in and we call. So that was that. We can check if we won or not, and we didn't. But that's not the main concern here. Let's see if we played it right or not. So first of all, let's check preflop. So here we have our range in chip EV. Important to note here, range in chip EV for the small blind here. And as you see, a6 offsuit is a mix, a bunch of raises, but also can and should mix in limps here. We did call, big blind did raise, and as you see, a bunch of jamming for chip EV, even for 35 big blinds. Now, I do not like to overjam this here, and we're going to look at this if that intuition is true or not. Because in a tournament, you know, ICM is already a factor not only at final two tables, at final table, but much earlier on. So we're going to look at some ICM ranges here. So let's switch to ICM. And again, we look at the small blind first. This is 50% of the field left. So first of all, we're going to look at this. So 50% of the field left. Even stacks. So the stack size distribution is all have 35 big blinds. We're in the small blind, and you see less raising already here with a6 off. Like we limp a bit more, but yeah. So we limp. The optimal sizing at this stage of the tournament is already a little bit lower. So it's 3.25x instead of 3.5x. Opponent in game chose the 3.5x, but yeah. So this will also have an impact on the ranges here. And you see that it's already much less jamming. Now there's some 3-bet bluffing going on here. And much more calling. Now more than 50% calling. So I like this already much more. And this is always what you have to keep in mind when you're looking and analyzing these spots. When you analyze even preflop, but also postflop, actually, you always have to keep in mind, okay, which stage of the tournament have I been in? Because the chip EV solutions will not be completely accurate at all anymore, neither preflop nor postflop. It can give you some indication, but you always have to keep that in mind. So yeah, I recommend working with definitely GTO Wizard, but also then like something like PioSolver, where you then can also look at some ICM solutions. Like you can create a spot where, you know, even 50% of the field, like you can pick a small field structure and then have like 4 places paid or something, because PioSolver you can only analyze up to, I think, 18 people left. But, you know, if only 4 people are left, you can still kind of simulate like 50% of the field left and so on. But anyways, so this is 50% of the field left. Let's see how this changes when we make it, let's say, 25% of the field left. So this is 25% of the field left. Now you see no jamming almost at all anymore. I mean, ace-5 off still wants to jam, but you see a bunch more 3-bet bluffing here. Actually, now we call a little bit less than with 50% of the field left. But now we only do the 3-bet bluffs, like the small bluff 3-bets, and not all in jam. So interesting here. All right, so let's switch to the post-flop analysis here. Again, keeping in mind that this is purely chip EV. So now we have less A6 offsuit here also in our range than we would usually have. But yeah, so we check here, range almost. Big blind chooses like close to the 50% sizing. I mean, it's 40%, but that's the closest sizing we have. And it's being used like a reasonable amount of the time here. So we're going to use the 50% sizing. And this is our whole range, whole response. We're going to raise like 17% of the time, call 37% of the time, and fold 44. Now the A6 does indeed pure raise. Now I picked a little bit smaller sizing. In game, like I figured that might induce more spews. Like in these spots, like when it's like 6-4 deuce, I limp call. Like I can raise a lot with like, you know, in my opponent's mind, I figure like in his mind I have a lot of like king 5 off, jack 5 off, 10-5 off, 10-3 off, and or 10-3 off not, sorry, suited I mean. You know, jack 5 suited, and so on. And so I figured like 7-8 suited also. So I figured like, yeah, this might induce a little bit more like aggressiveness with certain parts like ace high kind of hands. That's why I chose a little bit smaller sizing, but yeah, we definitely do pure raise. But let's check what we do in general here with our range. Some thing that I recommend you always when you're analyzing stuff with Wizard is the filters here, because it really makes it very easy to analyze certain parts of your range. So for example, let's first of all look at our no mate hand region, and you see that we actually like a decent amount of the time we continue with our no mate hands, like non-negligible amount of the time. Obviously that's a bunch of draws, but also a bunch of just gut shots, you know, the jack 3 suited, queen 3 suited, queen 5 suited. So those hands are also raising, of course. Let's in fact, let me see. Yeah, so I filtered now for just purely gut shot hands. And so that we get an impression of what we do with our gut shots. Actually 10% of the time we fold, like some of the non-backdoor gut shots we fold. Then like 20% of the time we raise, and the rest of the time mostly we end up calling, but obviously this has to be taken into consideration as well. Like you should, some percentage of the time you should raise. Again, these frequencies will change though, in, you know, depending on which stage of the tournament you are at. Now quickly here, we don't have many of them, but our open-enders are mainly purely calling. Tiny amount of raises, but yeah, mostly we're just calling here. Now moving over to the flush draws and the 6x, so pair plus flush draws, lots of raises, especially the stronger ones, makes sense. Then let's see here. Yeah, I don't know if we want to say that our weaker flush draws are check raising more. I mean, it's true, like in terms of pure equity, but these hands also have like some kind of gut shot potential here, like king 8 suited, king 7 suited, queen 8 suited, queen 7 suited, etc. But yeah, our higher flush is just pure check call. They have also, you know, more showdown value, of course. Just checking the equity here. In fact, like it's even kind of closely distributed. Yes, a little bit more equity here, but I mean, these hands aren't so far off, and this is also due to the backdoors that they have, backdoor gut shots that they have additionally to these hands. Moving on to the king high and ace high hands, 44.4% folds. Rest is like mostly calls, and then yeah, like 14.3% raises. And you see, like, again, the higher hands here, the higher king high and ace high will call more. I mean, ace high, we don't have that many high ace high hands here, but the ace-9 off calls almost purely, in fact, only with a club. Otherwise, it's folding. That applies to all the ace high, and here even like ace-7, even the ace-7 with the 7 of clubs is folding. And again, take into consideration if this is like deeper in the tournament, like these hands become even weaker, depending on, I mean, here, yeah, with a bigger stack, but it's not like a huge, it's not like we're dominating the big blind here with our stacks. So there will still be bigger ICM considerations. And yeah, some raises with a lower ace high. Gut shots also like ace-5, ace-3, king-3, king-5. So that is that. Then, I mean, we have this middling region here that often just check calls. And then if we look at our top pairs, like almost never calling and also, of course, never folding, it's mostly raising. So raising 6x is definitely correct here. So let's move on to the turn here. Yeah, so check, bet, raise, he calls, and here we have the turn. And in fact, we should just rather continue betting. Now here the stack to pot ratio is also a little bit shallower because the raise here was bigger. It's like, there's just, I mean, pot is what? 26.6, and there's 22 big blinds left, basically. So we have less than pot left, whereas in our hand here, stack to pot ratio is like, there's a little bit more than pot left. Not a huge difference, but I mean, it makes a little bit of a difference. But yeah, we should mostly just continue here with our betting and just, you know, obviously go with it. Like if we bet here, opponent jams, we're just not going anywhere, obviously. However, let's just assume, let's just check that line still. We check. And there's a smaller bet sizing only, which we're going to look at here. And even now, we should just jam. If we look at strategy rather, it's like 100% jam. You can look at the EV also. The EV difference, obviously calling as EV, but it's a significant difference in EV here. We should just jam at this point. So this was a little bit too passively played here, for sure. But that's what we did. So let's check the river. So yeah, 10 of spades river. Of course, unfortunately, we do not have ace-6 here anymore. So, but we can look comparatively. We have, well, okay, yeah, we have ace-6 of clubs. So that's good. We can look at that and see what we want to do here against a jam. And big blind is jamming. I mean, that's a matter also of the pot. Like there's 15.55 big blinds left. This was a good river for big blind. For big blind, I'm assuming. Let's check the equity actually. Not only equity, but yeah, you see here on this river, big blind has a huge advantage of, like, he has many very strong hands, basically very high equity hands here. That's why he can just go all in tons. I'm assuming we're overfolding actually, based on this, because we have so many also very bad hands, very low equity hands. So I'm assuming we're going to overfold. Although maybe, yeah, I guess we're still going to overfold some. But anyways, let's check here. Yeah, here we are. So anyways, let's check our strategy here. So a6, we are calling, so that's fine. We just basically, what we did is we played our hand too passively. We raised the flop, but from turn onwards, it was too passively. Like we should have just kept going there. The queen doesn't really change as much, and stack to pot ratio is already like shallow, and our relative hand strength is pretty strong there. So yeah, so that is what we gather from that, and that's interesting because yeah, sometimes you want to look at, okay, was my call good? Then you find out, okay, well, actually that wasn't the issue, but I should have done something else on a different street. What? If you're interested in poker coaching with me, feel free to make a request on ultimatepokercoaching.com. I'm a long-time No Limit Hold'em tournament player. I have experience with all buy-ins, and I am sure I can help you if you want or need help. Otherwise, wish you good luck.